instead of trying to run and rush between each of these four desires, like to touch base and quickly go to the next, the more economical way, and actually the way of nature, is to create balance and to have all needs met equally in each role. Hi YouTube. Today I want to talk about synergy in the roles that we are playing in life. I want to give very concrete actions that you can take, that you can immediately experience the positive benefit of looking through the lens of synergy when it comes to roles in your day-to-day life. So this should be something very practical that you can implement directly. I already touched upon the roles and how you can view them in the context of, for instance, a game like League of Legends, where roles are very important. We also touched upon that in creating a personal mission, where it's very important that you know what is your role and how you want to perform in that role. How do you view your role in life? And it is also a major part of the 6-step method, where I completely lay out how you could plan your week. If you haven't checked out those videos, I highly recommend you that you do. But in today's video, I really want to focus on setting the right framework to look at roles that you play in your day-to-day life, in your life's work, if you will. So I want to introduce a certain framework to understand this a bit better. And this framework will take the shape of a tree. As you can see at the bottom, there are the principles, so the key principles from which you understand life, which are also your core values. They basically nurture your mission. So your mission will grow out of that. And that will basically determine what kind of roles you need to fulfill. There's, of course, some back and forth and iteration going on there. But the roles that you need to fulfill then basically give you the right context in which you want to make decisions in life. And decisions always are decisions between which actions to take or which things to act on. And finally, if you do the right actions enough times, you will bear the fruit of your actions, which is what we all want, which is success, a good life, a fulfilled life. And this is basically the framework that we have. It's pretty simple. The key point is that the roles still have great overlap. They have the same fuel that drives them, and they support the same system. So the way that you fill in your roles should really reflect how and who you truly are. Another way to see it is that the different roles that you play can be like screens, and what is projected onto them is always a shadow of you, but the light is coming from a different angle. So you shouldn't try to make specific shapes that fit that role, but you should try to find from which angle you need to shine your light so that it's always a true projection of who you are. And in that way, you make it a bit easier for yourself to fill the role. The second point I want to make is that you shouldn't view your roles as separate buckets, but more as interconnected things. So an example could be that if you have a specific role, let's say you have as a goal to lose weight and become in better shape than you are right now. So what you do is you go to the gym and you go on a diet. And what you're practically doing, your role there, is you're a coach to yourself. So you have to tell yourself, no, you cannot eat this, and you have to eat that. And you have to tell yourself, go to the gym at this and this time, go to bed. You have to create some sort of structure. You have to learn how to coach yourself. You have to learn how to deal with yourself. But that is not in itself an isolated case. So let's say the skills that you learn by coaching yourself can be easily translated into, let's say you have kids and you have to discipline your kids and you have to tell them when they need to go to bed, what kind of things they should and shouldn't do. You've been on the other side, right? Because you've had to learn that sometimes you want to do A, but you really have to do B. So you learn how to coach yourself, you learn how to coach your kids. And that also translates to work. Let's say if you are in a leadership position, if you're a manager, you learn how you can lead and manage the people in your team. So even though these are 3 different roles in very different levels of life, there is a very deep interconnectedness. And the big commonality is that you are in each of these 3 roles. So the way that you are coaching yourself should reflect how you are coaching your children and how you are coaching and leading the people at your work. You shouldn't try and put on a different kind of mask, but you should see that you are exactly the same person that does these things. And what we call this is coming forth from the principle called the principle of synergy. And what that means is, so synergy occurs when individuals collaborate and leverage their strength to achieve more together than they could individually. So basically the principle of 1 + 1 = 3. The whole complex system is more than just a simple sum of the parts. That is the whole concept of synergy. Another great example that I heard from a colleague of mine was that he started being a dungeon master in Dungeons and Dragons. And he said that this greatly affected how he acted as a manager at his job. So because he learned how to tell stories better and how to keep people engaged, he really was able to translate that perfectly into his managerial role. So seeing yourself as interconnected and your roles as an interconnected being, as it were, really changes how you perceive the world. So think about it like this. You are not the person that wasn't able to reach their bench press PR today because you were weak. No, you are the person that had a really tough week and had a hard presentation at the office today that you needed to prepare for, and you still showed up to the gym. You really need to see yourself as this continuous being, not as the separate buckets that you want to judge harshly according to their achievement. You should be able to forgive yourself more easily if you can also see that everything weighs and pulls on you. Some specific actions that you can take to really understand and integrate this concept into your daily life is think about which roles you are currently performing in life, which roles you currently have, and I think which parts of these roles overlap with each other. Where is the synergy? Where do you see commonality? And maybe in what you like about it, or what you gain or learn from it, or maybe which aspects of life these roles are trying to fulfill. At this point, you might also consider to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you like the content. I would really appreciate it because it motivates me if I see that people are enjoying my content. And if you think you know someone who might also benefit from my content, please share this with them because that will also help my channel to grow. Moving on, the second part, the lens through which you can see your roles, is that each role should try to satisfy the 4 essential human needs that I talked about in my earlier video. Instead of trying to run and rush between each of these 4 desires, like to touch base and quickly go to the next, the more economical way, and actually the way of nature, is to create balance and to have all needs met equally in each role. This will leave you with more energy, more time, because your roles also overlap with purpose and goal. Your actual benefit will grow exponentially. So as an example, I will take the role of a content creator. What I'm doing right now is creating content for YouTube, and it is a specific role where some actions are required to move forward. Now, if I look at the physical aspect, so that would be, what am I actually creating? Am I creating something? And I create videos which really weren't there before if I wouldn't do any of this work. So this is really creating something in the physical space. The mental part is that it's really challenging to continuously come up with stuff. I try to read a lot of books and I summarize what I read in these books. And then I need to think about that. Do I really understand it? I also need to learn how to make better videos, so trying to improve on my editing skills. So there's a lot of learning and development involved for me. For the social aspect, I get to interact with hundreds of people who watch my content. And at the same time, I'm also brainstorming with friends to see what kind of topics would work for them, and we have discussions about it. This is actually something that I want to highlight, that because I'm treating my role like this, it will never be in the way for me to fulfill my needs. So there might be situations where you need to choose between 2 things. So I need to work on my channel, but I also want to meet my friends. So what do I do? But actually these 2 can be very easily combined. I can meet my friends and I could ask them to collaborate on my videos, which is something I did in the past, or I could simply ask them to brainstorm with me on what kind of topics would work. What are they interested in? What do they think of my previous videos, etc. So developing myself in the content that I create can also be coupled and overlapping with my social desires. So fourth is still the spiritual aspect. Putting myself out there to be judged by other people is for me like a kind of pressure cooker where if you expose yourself to the world, you will get feedback to what is actually good and what is bad, what is redundant, what is the dead wood that needs to burn off. And I think doing that online is kind of speeding that process up way more. And also I think that I've already realized that sometimes I got feedback that people actually liked my videos and it was useful to them, and that means so much to me that it really feels like this is something I should be doing. And that's where I get my kind of spiritual needs met while doing this, while fulfilling this role. A second example, maybe a bit more intuitive for many people. So I put like house owner, apartment owner. Many people own or live in a house, and I think the role is the same. So physically, this is the environment in which I live. So I really practically see the effect of taking care and maintaining everything. A good household is very important because everything else flows out of that. It's your living space, and there's a very direct and important result to fulfilling this role. Mental, the same actually as for the YouTube channel. It's kind of how you approach it, but there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn about how to maintain the place, how to clean it. Yeah, and you also need to learn how to negotiate with yourself to get like a routine going to clean and maintain the place regularly. Social, of course, I think maintaining a house or a place to live, a home, let's say, is a place to invite your friends for social activities. And spiritual, like I said, I think your home is really the foundation of your life. And I would refer to Jordan Peterson, who is famous for saying, clean up your room. So a specific action that you can take here is sit down and think to which extent the roles that you have already listed before fulfill these needs. So how can you, maybe you haven't thought about it, maybe some of the roles don't really fulfill all the needs. That's also something good to think about. Is there anything you can change about that role in order to make it more overarching these four needs? Or is it maybe okay the way that it is? So just something to think about. And sometimes you can, of course, have imbalance in your life for a certain period of time. And that can be acceptable if it is in service of balance in the greater scheme of things. You don't need to run and switch masks in between your roles. You should really be yourself, projecting yourself onto different problems in the world. That's the easiest way to see it. It will be more efficient, so you'll have more energy because everything is overlapping. And at the same time, every role is helping you fulfill the different needs that you have at the same time. So there's like a compounding effect that stacks, and the benefit will be exponential, as I said before. I hope this was useful to you guys, and I would love to hear from you in the comments what you think. Make sure to like this video if you like this video, and don't forget to have a nice day.